Hey everyone, welcome back to the wonderful world of CG. Welcome to the CG world. This is the follow-up video of how to texture and render a realistic asset in Maya and Substance Painter and later in Blender. And if you want to support the channel, please subscribe, and if you like the video, please give it a like. Now that's been said, let's get started. So go to the legacy and world option. Sometimes it works really very good. So now all the objects are going to go inside of one UV tile. Then do some manual adjustments so that it can be packed. Make sure they're super compact and not wasting any UV space. So now I'm making on group. and I'm hiding which parts are not needed. So now I'm going to duplicate this thing and make it a high poly, and afterwards we'll be baking this inside of Substance Painter. So I'm not doing anything else. I'll be just adding one subdivision on the high poly one. The low poly one will remain low poly. So I'm adding some cuts so the smooth can work properly. Again, to repeat the last command, just press G on your keyboard. Now we will export the meshes in OBJ or FBX format. We have to export both the low poly and the high poly. Okay, so after going to Substance Painter, I realized that the curvature of the blade is not going to work if I don't add a smooth at least one level of subdivision on the low poly mesh. So that's why I'll be adding one level of subdivision on the low poly mesh and two level of subdivision on the high poly mesh. So choose the new mesh, choose the low poly mesh, and don't on the UV workflow, UV tile workflow. You will only on this when it's UDIM. So now we are not working in UDIM. So we have to bake the maps. Choose a resolution, and in the high poly mesh, choose the high poly. First testing with the normal map. So the normal map is fine. Let's do the other maps. We don't need any ID maps. So you can see that there's some problem on that particular area. We will try to fix that. In the occlusion there is some problem, but in normal map there is no problem. So I checked the geometries if there was some issues, but there was no issue. So you can fix the map by painting some manually, but here I'm not doing that because in the main areas the maps are correct, but some smaller parts the maps are a little bit of problematic, so that will not be a big deal in the final results, so I'm keeping it. So there you can see that the occlusion is showing in the total preview, so I am turning down the occlusion. So now let's get started with the texturing. So first delete whatever is there in the layer. So start with the material. So see, there are there are three types of materials, and this is rocky metal. This one is not like super metallic surface, this is mostly like a rock. So you can start with a smart material, but here let's start with the normal material so we can do it from scratch. So I'm adding on material. So this is the material. So you have to tweak it, try to find the proper color. Then the roughness is very important, because in this object you can see that roughness is quite high. So little bit of like that. So see from different angles, change the lighting, shift right click for rotating the light. So now In another layer I am adding only roughness and changing the blending mode to linear dodge. Then I'm adding a black mask and then a fill to mask it with a grunge map. So you can see this is how the map looks. So you can change the contrast and balance, see how you like it. Because there needs to be some variations in the roughness. Because some variations in roughness is needed. So I'm changing the color, and most probably I will change it later also. So you can play with the values. So I am adding a new layer with a basic color variation. So I'm going to the base color channel. Now as similar, I'll be adding a black mask, then I will add a fill, and on the fill I will add a grunge map. So you can see there is already a variation in the color. So you can always go inside of a base color channel and material view. So remember, always give some color variations on the surface, because if you see the reference, you will understand that. And no surfaces are like fully same color. Play with the contrast and balance, and I use the tri-planar projection. Then I'm trying different blending modes, and you always have the option to decrease the overall opacity of the layer. So I'm adding one more variation, this time a bit darker. So I'm color picking the same color, and then I'm changing the color towards more darker. Same as before, adding a black mask, then adding a fill and adding a procedural grunge. So you can see this the whole texture is on the whole X. We don't want that. We want only in the blades. So what we have to do is we have to make it inside of a group. And then we have to mask it out the other parts. So I'm making the group and naming it blade. Now here I'm adding a black mask and then adding a paint, and go to the polygon option and then click on the meshes you want this material to be. So you can see this looks quite good at this stage. So we will continue to work on that. So I'm continuously checking the reference and I'm trying to match the essence, not absolutely trying to match all of the aspects, but I'm trying to make the materials as good as possible. So here I'm adding a generator first time, and it is a dirt generator. So I want it only in the edges, not that much inside of the body. So I'm changing the generator to the curvature one. See, change the contrast. Now it's way more in the edges. So now it looks super mechanical, the edge wear. You always have to break the continuity of the edge wear in some point of time. Now again some playing with the parameters, with the values, and I'm adding on top of that I'm adding a cloud so to break continuity. So you can see that it is breaking the surface. The normal blending mode will not work, because in that case you are going to have only one mask working. If you want both of the masks working, then you have to change the blending mode. So I'm trying one different grunge. So now in this stage it's all trial and error, adding something, seeing how it work, then changing it again. So with the manipulator you can rotate, move inside of the viewport. So see, it's working fine. You have a little bit of discontinuation on the edges. So now see, this is looking way more realistic than before. So I'm adding one more layer of color variation and testing out some different things. So I'm duplicating the layer and then adding some changes so that I can go back if I don't like it. So again the same process, I'm adding a black mask and a fill, and inside of the fill I'm adding a black and white mask. It can be anything. So always remember that white means visible and black means transparent. So in your mask the white part will be visible and the black parts will be not visible or transparent. So in that area the underneath layer will be visible. So let's end this video here. Thanks for watching till the end, and the next part will be uploaded in the next week. Please subscribe to this channel, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. You can comment any of your opinion or can ask any questions.